Welcome back. So let's look at a few things that I want to kind of explain to you. First of all, right now what we're returning and what we're using in the entire setup is actually any, pretty much meaning that the observable can be anything. It doesn't have to be a product. It could be any JSON that can be converted into JavaScript objects actually. So I want to be more specific than that. I want to explain to the system that what we're getting back here is actually products, right? Using the product interface. So that's kind of what I want to return. I want to return products. So I'll save this. Now I have products right here, but I also want to do it in the service. So let's try and jump to the service. Same problem. I want to explain that it's products we're returning, right? So I'm going to return a product here as well. Now we'll get an error because out of the box, the Angular Fire 2 doesn't know that this is a list of products. How should it know? I have to explain to the system that this is going to be a list of products. And luckily, Angular Fire built it very simple for us to just add product right here, and automatically it'll convert the collection into products if possible, of course. So what it'll kind of do is it'll try and go in there and say if a product, in my case, has a name, and on Firebase the product has a name, then I'll just take that property and put it into the product property of name, right? So it's pretty much just going to try and map it for me one-to-one. Pretty amazing stuff. Now we're going to try and do this manually next video, but this lesson I want to show you something else because I want to try and debug and see what I actually get from Firebase, and I want to try and do it without the async. So I decided to kind of show you guys how easy it is to actually not use async. What does async actually do for us? So let me try and remove it from here, and I'll save the code. Now, first, the thing you'll see right here is that we won't show any products anymore. So let me just try and jump into the front end right here, and you'll see no products. It kind of fails. It can't figure out how to actually run over an observable, because what we're trying to do is use a for loop to say for each inside an observable. Now that's not possible because the observable is not a list of objects. Okay, back to my problem from last lesson. Observables is just a connection to some kind of thing you want to do later, right? So we need to kind of figure out how we can actually convert these guys into a list of products instead of just being an observable. And automatically, as I said, if you put in the pipe and the async, that will happen. It'll go in and convert it into a list by going and saying, give me all the products, right? Now let's do it manually instead, just to show you guys how easy it actually is and what it actually does behind the scenes, this async pipe. Jumping back to my code right here, I'll convert this products from being an observable into actually just being the list of products, right? It's a list of products now. And of course that means that you cannot set this guy, which is an observable, you cannot set that equal to a list of products. That doesn't match, right? So instead of doing this, I'll remove this for now. So what does it actually do, the async pipe? The first thing it does is actually it subscribes to the observable that you just passed in. The subscription right here will give you a few pieces of information you can use. If you look at this code right here, the first thing it'll give you is a way to kind of get the actual value that is returned from Firebase in our case, or returned from the observable. The second step is to give you an error if something goes wrong, and the third step is to give you a completion message if everything is completed as it should. So what we're going to do is, in the subscription, we know that what we're getting back is going to be a list of products, right? It's going to be a list of products. Now we're going to take those products and we're going to put them by setting up this system. So this is the products that we're going to get returned from Firebase. We're going to go into a function that we built right here, and in there we're going to say the local list of products, right? This products, meaning this list up here, we're going to set that to the list of products that we're getting from the outside, right? That's all we have to do. Now we've actually subscribed, and in the subscription we also request to get some information from the front end. Amazing stuff. Let's try and go into the code and see if it worked. They're back, right? And let's try and see if we're still listening like we expect. Let's just add another document right here, a name, and let's put in some kind of crazy name right here. I'll save. Hopefully it pops up. Of course it pops up. So we're still listening. Everything's still running like with the async pipe. The only difference is I now did it manually, right? So let's try and jump back here because there's actually a problem with this. Because if you manually subscribe, you also have to manually unsubscribe. And that's also something the async pipe takes care of for you. So what I'll do is I'll make a small subscription right here. I'll just call it subscription. And that'll be a subscription. Duh. And I'm going to say when I subscribe right here, I want to just locally save that subscription to this product subscription. Now the final thing I want to do is kind of say, when I destroy this guy, right now when I initialize the component, I'm going to subscribe. And when I destroy it, you can do that by saying onDestroy. Kind of what we call a life cycle hook. So it pretty much means when this component is being destroyed, I might want to clean up stuff, for instance, subscriptions. And what I'll do is pretty much just ask this guy to kind of import this onDestroy method, because I need that if I want to call myself or implement the onDestroy interface. I have to initialize an onDestroy method, and then I'll say this dot subscription dot unsubscribe. Pretty much saying I want to unsubscribe now. I don't want to listen to that thing anymore, right? Now, why do this? Well, you'll notice right away that this is more code. This is more code than what we have with the single pipe. But now I have more possibilities. For instance, I could now actually go in here and do a debugger. If I wanted to kind of do that, I could go in and I could kind of add a debugger right here just to kind of see what kind of data I'm getting back. Let's try and do that. Try and add the debugger, jumping in, hitting the debugger, and now I can actually see my products, which is not undefined, but it's right here. So we have the different products right here with a name, right? They're just objects, perfect stuff. Let's just, for the fun of it, I'm going to try, for the fun of it, to add an extra field to this product right here, just to kind of prove a point. So let's just continue this guy, show the products right there. Let's just try and add an extra field to this guy, add field, and we'll add time, and we'll just add a symbol. Let's just keep it a string, today. It's not important what it says actually. I'll add this, right? Hopefully I get my debugger again. There we go, we hit the debugger, we'll try and expand the products. Oh, notice this. Even though I actually asked my service specifically to be a product, it still shows this field right here. It's like, what? If you're from object-oriented programming and you feel this looks weird, why is there a time field now? I didn't ask for that. It's actually because we're still working with plain JavaScript. Even though we use the interfaces, we're still working with JavaScript objects, pretty much meaning that if it's in the JSON, it'll be converted into the object. But does that mean that time is actually inside the object so I can start presenting it, even though it shouldn't be there? Let's try it out. Let's try it out. So trying to jump back to the code, let's try and jump into the list component right here and just add another field. I'll just do a couple of minuses, and then I'll add time right here. Notice I get an error. Shouldn't be any time here. I'll just save it anyway. Try and check out if it actually shows up as a time. Let's just continue. Time is actually there. So my point here is actually, even though I get compile errors right here, time actually exists. So next lesson we're going to try and play around with actually building products that doesn't contain any other data than exactly the data that you ask a product to contain. That's it for this lesson. See you next time. Have fun.